Hey, I'm Chris, and thanks for joining us for our series, Help. Now, there's been a few times in my life where I want to learn to do something really cool, but I can't figure it out on my own. Whenever I go skateboarding, it's really fun to learn a new trick, but it's a huge challenge, and I have to ask someone for help. I find someone that knows how to do it, and they can show me to do it. Even with that, it's still really hard. I fall a lot, it takes so many tries, but if I persevere and stick with it, I end up figuring it out, and it's awesome. Well, let's watch today's God story. We're gonna see how God helped David persevere even when it was really hard to do. Let's check it out.
Welcome to Lynda's Aussie Adventures. Did you know that if you were to visit a new beach in Australia every day, it would take you 27 years to see them all? Hey, it's Lynda here again. I hope you've had a really great week. It's so good to be back with you again. Now, I used to work for a camp for about 5 years on and off, and the thing with working for camp is they generally don't really pay you very well. In fact, most of the time, it's more volunteer than it is paid work. Now, 5 years is a really long time to not be getting a normal full wage. My life had to change a lot to be at camp. I didn't have a car, so I couldn't get in and out of town, so I was pretty much stuck there. I even had a mattress that had holes in it, so when I rolled over, my arm would get stuck between the springs. Sometimes there was even skunks that ran through my wall. It wasn't particularly glamorous, but I knew that I was exactly where God wanted me to be. And that reminds me of today's big idea, that God helps us to persevere in doing the right thing. So we've been learning over the last few weeks about this guy called David, who was God's next anointed king for Israel. He was the youngest of 8 sons, and he's the guy who killed the giant Goliath with a single stone. And now remember Saul? He's still the king, and he doesn't like David at all. In fact, he's tried to have David killed multiple times. In 1 Samuel 18, verse 29, we even read, "As long as Saul lived, he remained David's enemy." But David kept doing well in everything he attempted. But the more that everyone else loved him, the more that Saul seemed to hate him, but God was always with him. David actually had the opportunity to kill Saul, but he didn't. He actually treated Saul with so much kindness. About this time, Samuel, the judge, the prophet, the guy who anointed David as the next king, died. And all of Israel was really sad. They really liked that guy. After that, Saul began to chase David again, trying to kill him. David just didn't understand why, and I imagine it would be pretty exhausting to have somebody trying to kill you chasing you all the time. David found out that Saul and his army were camped near him, and David decided to go down to Saul's camp at night. David took a guy called Abishai with him down to Saul's camp. Now everyone was sleeping, and David saw Saul's spear and water jug. Abishai wanted to kill Saul, but David told him not to, and instead took his spear and water jug and snuck out while everyone was still asleep. David and Abishai went across the valley to the top of a hill and called out to Saul's army commander Abner. David showed Abner that he had Saul's spear and water jug, but did nothing to harm Saul. As David was speaking, Saul heard him. Then Saul confessed, "I have sinned. Come back home, my son, and I will no longer try to harm you. For you valued my life today. I have been a fool and very, very wrong." "Here is your spear, O king," David replied. "Let one of your young men come over and get it. The Lord gives his own reward for doing good and for being loyal, and I refuse to kill you even when the Lord placed you in my power, for you are the Lord's anointed one. Now may the Lord value my life even as I have valued yours today. May he rescue me from all my troubles." And Saul said to David, "Blessings on you, my son David. You will do many heroic deeds and you will surely succeed." Then David went away and Saul returned home. And this time, Saul actually kept his word. And as time went on, Saul and his army were chased down by the Philistines. And sadly, Saul's 3 sons were killed. And knowing that the army was coming for him, Saul took his own life. And I know it sounds like a sad end to the story, but that's how 1 Samuel ends. But 2 Samuel brings good news. David will finally be king. But that's a story for another time. Even though Saul had continued to try to kill David, David knew that killing Saul wasn't the right thing to do. He had to persevere in doing what was right in God's eyes. Remember when I told you about living at camp? It was really hard to persevere in doing the right thing, but that was nothing compared to what David had to go through. He was actually being hunted down to be killed and had the opportunity to end it all by killing Saul not once but twice, and still he did the right thing. And honestly, we need God's help to persevere in doing what's right. Every day we make decisions to follow Jesus, God's way, or to follow the crowd. It is so much easier to be a follower of the crowd, go with the flow, do what everyone else is doing, than it is to follow Jesus. But when we choose to follow Jesus, we find a life that is so much more full and rewarding than anything we could ever imagine on our own. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you later.
So David chose to do the right thing, and because of that, Saul backed off and didn't try to kill him. But remember, in our own lives, even if we choose to do the right thing, things don't always go super smooth for us. We asked a few friends what they think the right thing to do is for a few different situations. Let's check it out.
What would you do? You're having friends over. You made a mess. What would you do? Clean it up? Leave it? Help your parents clean up? Or do something else?
I know I'm supposed to say I would clean it up, but I actually would leave it. If it's late at night, I normally just go to sleep.
Wait, it depends how big of a mess it is.
Quickly gonna help clean up, or else my parents would kill me.
I'm the kind of person that doesn't really like a mess around the house, but sometimes I don't like cleaning up the mess, so.
Have you ever stuck to something, even when it was hard?
Oh, homework. Riding my bike when I was little. I just started.
Well, we did cross country, and the teacher made us run 4 laps every day.
I think people who gave me examples on how to persevere. And I think that, for me, was the way that kept me strong and kept me going.
I feel like I had to persevere through my relationship with God and getting through like hard times and working with him and pushing through not knowing where to go next.
How can Jesus help us persevere in doing the right thing?
Well, he can help you focus, and you can always remember that there's going to be someone to help you persevere, that you don't have to do things alone. I normally pray to him every night when my mom leaves my room.
I would pray and then maybe he would make it easier for me.
Asking for clarity on what you need personally so that you can persevere.
I just ask for his help, and then I feel that I have more confidence that I can finish whatever I'm doing.
He could give me a sign to say, Kimora, you should be doing this. Like there would be a notice somewhere saying, we need someone to help us do this. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that.
Keep praying and just keep asking, and in the end there's always going to be an answer, no matter if you like it or not. But in the end it will be good, even if at the time you don't like it.
He reminds us it will be worth it in the end.
Well, it looks like all of our friends have a really good understanding of what it means to do the right thing. And what stood out to me here is that it's obvious that they know God helps them make those right decisions. So let's get into our small groups now and see what this looks like in our own lives.